Hey, English learners. You're listening to Softly Spoken English, where real conversations do the teaching. I'm Sophia, and I'm really glad to have you here today. Here's a question to start with. Could you describe your entire day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, in English, without stopping to think? Most learners can name the actions, but the small connecting words, the frequency, the order, the timing, that's usually where things get a little shaky. If that sounds familiar, today's episode is exactly what you need. We're talking about daily routines, the vocabulary, the small words that hold sentences together, and the little grammar details that make the difference between sounding like a list and sounding like a real person talking about their day. Honestly, this is one of the most useful topics for everyday conversations because you'll use it in almost every conversation, with coworkers, new friends, even small talk with strangers. Let's start simple. In English, we usually describe a routine using the present simple because it's something that happens regularly, not just once. I wake up at 7. Not, I am waking up at 7, unless you're describing it as it happens right now. Live. Let's build a typical morning together. I wake up, then I get up. These aren't the same thing, by the way. Wake up means your eyes open. You're no longer asleep. Get up means you actually leave the bed. Some of us, honestly, take quite a while between those two. After that, most people get dressed, brush their teeth, and have breakfast. Notice, we say have breakfast, not eat breakfast in most everyday contexts, although both are understood perfectly well. Here's a small phrase that trips people up. Do the dishes. Not make the dishes. Interesting, isn't it, that we make breakfast, but do the dishes, do the laundry, do the shopping. English loves these little inconsistencies, and honestly, there's no shortcut. You just absorb them over time. Let's keep building the day. After breakfast, many people head to work, or commute, or go to school. Then during the day, you might have a meeting, take a break, or have lunch. Notice have keeps showing up. It's doing a lot of work in this vocabulary. In the evening, people often finish work, head home, relax, have dinner, and eventually go to bed. Some people wind down before bed, watching something, reading, or just sitting quietly for a bit. That phrase, wind down, is worth remembering. It sounds much more natural than relax before sleeping. Let's not forget the small tasks scattered throughout the day, because these come up constantly in real conversation. Run errands, meaning small tasks outside the house, like the bank or the post office. Do the grocery shopping, walk the dog, tidy up the house, check emails. None of these are exciting, but honestly, they make up most of an actual day. Here's a small but useful phrase. Squeeze something in. I managed to squeeze in a workout before my first meeting. It means fitting an activity into a day that's already fairly full. I have to admit, I like this one. It captures that slightly chaotic feeling of a busy schedule perfectly. Now, let's talk about frequency, because a routine isn't just a list of actions, it's how often you do them. Always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never. These words tell your listener how regular something actually is. Here's the tricky part, word order. These frequency words usually go before the main verb, but after the verb to be. I usually wake up early. I am usually tired in the mornings. Notice the position changes depending on which verb is nearby. Let's practice this. Think about your actual mornings. Are you usually on time or usually running a little late? Try building a sentence with usually, placing it correctly. A model answer: I'm usually running about 10 minutes late if I'm being honest. Here's another one. Think about something you rarely do as part of your routine, maybe something you know you should do more. Try it with rarely. Something like, I rarely have time for breakfast, so I usually just grab a coffee. Let's try one more, this time with always or never, the strongest ones. Think of something that's basically guaranteed in your day, or something that basically never happens. A model answer: I always check my phone before getting out of bed, even though I know I probably shouldn't. Or, I never skip my morning coffee, no matter how late I'm running. Now let's add sequencing, because routines aren't random, they happen in order. First, then, after that, later, finally. These words connect your sentences, so your routine sounds like a story, not a checklist. Here's an example, all connected. First, I wake up around 6:30. Then I check my phone for a few minutes, which I probably shouldn't do. After that, I get up and make coffee. Later, I get ready for work. And finally, I head out the door. I quite like listening back to that kind of sentence. It genuinely sounds like someone talking, not reading a list. That's really the goal today: connected, natural speech, not disconnected fragments. Let's talk about time expressions now, because prepositions here confuse a lot of learners. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, but at night. Why does night break the pattern? Let's talk about time expressions now, because prepositions here confuse a lot of learners. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, but at night. Why does night break the pattern? I like to relax nacht night before bed. If you said at, exactly right, night breaks the pattern. Remember? One more. I go grocery shopping your weekends. If you said on, that's correct. Prepositions here don't follow logic so much as habit. The more you hear them in context, the more automatic they become. Let's try two more, a little trickier. She usually goes for a run, in the evening before dinner. If you said in, that's right. In the evening follows the same pattern as morning and afternoon. We're closed Sundays, but open every other day. If you said on, perfect. Days of the week always take on. Here's a short scene between a parent and a teenager, negotiating a weekend routine. Parent: Can you at least tidy your room before noon? Teenager: I will. I just want to sleep in a bit first. It's the weekend. Parent: Fair enough, just don't lounge around all day. Teenager: I never lounge around all day. Maybe just until lunchtime. Parent: That's basically the same thing. Honestly, that exchange makes me smile. It's such a normal, slightly funny moment, and it uses almost every weekend phrase we've covered. Here's a short conversation between two co-workers comparing their mornings. Person 1: What time do you usually get up? Person 2: Around 6, but honestly, I'm rarely fully awake until my second coffee. Person 1: Same here. I always hit snooze at least twice. Person 2: Twice? I'm impressed. I usually go for 3. That's such a relatable little exchange, isn't it? Small talk about mornings, and yet it uses almost everything we've covered so far. Let's compare weekday routines with weekend routines now because the vocabulary shifts a little. On weekdays, people often say things like, I rush out the door, or I barely have time for breakfast. On weekends, the tone changes completely. I sleep in, meaning you wake up later than usual. I take my time, meaning there's no rush at all. I lounge around, meaning you're relaxing, not doing much of anything in particular. Notice how different the emotional tone feels, even though the grammar structure barely changes. A few more useful ones for weekends. Catch up on sleep, meaning making up for a tired week. Run errands, which we mentioned earlier, often gets pushed to Saturday mornings specifically. And have a lazy day, a lovely little phrase for doing absolutely nothing productive on purpose. Here's a short dialogue showing that contrast. Friend 1, what does your Saturday morning usually look like? Friend 2, honestly, I sleep in until at least 9, then I just lounge around with coffee for a while. Friend 1, that sounds wonderful. My weekdays are the complete opposite. Let's do a quick practice round. Describe your weekday morning in 2 or 3 sentences, using at least one frequency word and one sequencing word. Take a moment. Here's a model answer, just for the shape of it. First, I usually wake up around 7. Then I quickly get ready because I'm always running a little behind schedule. Now try your weekend morning, using different vocabulary. The more relaxed kind we just covered. Something like, on weekends, I sleep in until whenever I wake up naturally, and I never set an alarm. Let's try a spot the mistake round now. I'll say a sentence with something slightly off, and I want you to catch it before I explain. Ready? I usually am tired in the mornings. Did you catch it? The frequency word is in the wrong spot. It should be, I am usually tired, because usually goes after the verb to be, not before it. Here's another one. I have breakfast in the night. That one's a preposition mistake. It should be at night. Remember, night always breaks the pattern. One more. I do my breakfast every morning. That's a make versus do mix-up. It should be, I make my breakfast, since we're preparing food. Small words, but they're exactly the kind of thing that trips people up in real conversations, even at a fairly comfortable level. Let's try 2 more, a little faster. I sometimes am late for work. Did you catch it? It should be, I am sometimes late, the frequency word again in the wrong spot around to be. And I usually do the groceries on Saturday. That one's actually correct. Do the groceries is a valid alternative to go grocery shopping, so no mistake hiding there at all. Let's put together a full routine now, morning to night, using everything we've practiced today. I usually wake up around 6:30. First, I check my phone, then I get up and make coffee. I'm always a little slow in the mornings, so I rarely have time for a proper breakfast. During the day, I have meetings, and I usually take a short break around noon. In the evening, I head home, have dinner, and I like to wind down by reading for a bit before bed. On weekends, though, everything changes. I sleep in and take my time with absolutely everything. Notice how that whole routine flows as one connected story, not a list of separate facts. That's honestly the real skill behind today's episode, using frequency, sequencing, and the right prepositions, without stopping to think about each one individually. Here's something worth mentioning before we wrap up. All of this vocabulary works even if your routine looks completely different from the typical 9 to 5. If you work night shifts, your morning might actually start at sunset. I wake up around 6 in the evening, then I get ready for my shift, which starts at 8. Same structure, same words, just shifted onto a different clock entirely. Here's a short scene between two roommates with opposite schedules. Roommate 1. How was your night shift? Roommate 2. Exhausting, honestly. I usually get home around 7 and I always crash straight into bed. Roommate 1. I'm just getting up when you're going to sleep. It's a strange way to live together. Roommate 2. It works though. We barely see each other, but we always leave notes. That's genuinely such a real situation for a lot of people, and it shows the vocabulary bends easily to fit any life, not just a standard office schedule. Let's do a short recap. Present simple for regular routines. Frequency words like usually and rarely, placed before the main verb, but after to be. Sequencing words like first and then to connect your day into a story. And prepositions like in the morning, but at night, and on weekends. Here's one more set of connecting words worth knowing, because they let you link two actions instead of just listing them separately. Before, after, while, and as soon as. I check my emails before I have breakfast. I listen to music while I get ready. I make coffee as soon as I wake up. Notice how these words add a small relationship between two actions, not just order, but connection. While especially is useful because it shows two things happening at the same time, which then and first can't quite capture on their own. Let's practice this. Think of two things you often do at the same time in your routine. Try connecting them with while. A model answer. I usually listen to a podcast while I'm getting ready in the mornings. Now try one with before or after, connecting two steps of your day directly. Here's one more short scene, a couple comparing routines over breakfast. Partner 1. Do you always check your phone before you even get out of bed? Partner 2. Guilty. I check it as soon as I wake up before I do anything else, honestly. Partner 1. I wait until after breakfast. It feels calmer that way. Partner 2. Fair enough, everyone's routine looks a little different. Here's your challenge for this week. Try describing your actual day out loud, from morning to night, using at least 3 of today's expressions. It only takes a minute, and it's genuinely one of the fastest ways to make this stick. Here's something else you can do this week, besides the exercises. Daily routine vocabulary comes up constantly in small talk, in interviews, even in casual chats with new people. Next time someone asks, "So, what's a typical day like for you?" Notice how naturally these phrases fit right into your answer, without you even planning it. Now it's your turn. Answer these questions in English, using your own words, and share one of them in the comments if you'd like. Take your time with each one. There's no single right answer here, just your own real day. First, describe your typical morning routine in 2 or 3 sentences, using at least one frequency word. Second, what's one thing you do differently on weekends compared to weekdays? Describe it using the vocabulary from today. Third, what part of your day do you usually rush through? And what part do you take your time with? Tell me about both and try connecting them with while or before if you can. Which part of your daily routine would you love to change if you could? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what people would pick. Keep noticing these expressions in your own routine, and little by little, they'll begin to feel completely natural. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.